here for the official launch of SpitFire, your guide to reignite and maintain your passion at home, work, and beyond. So tonight I'm going to share some stories with you. I'm going to share some stuff from the book, and then we're going to have some guinea pigs. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, y'all got a little nervous there. Fear not. But before I get into my book, there is one person who is not here that made all of this possible. And no, it's not Justin Trewick. His name is Cliff Montgomery. Now, that name has never popped up, but as I was going through this talk, I was like, when did this all start? Well, it was 3.5 years ago, and I was living in Las Vegas. I was married, I owned a CrossFit gym, and I was working full-time for a company in D.C. And some of my previous coworkers are here today, so they can vouch for me. I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I was exhausted. I was tired. I was feeling unwanted, unappreciated, and that nothing was getting better. So what did I do? I kept piling on more stuff. Well, maybe I should have a kid. That's going to make everything better. Well, maybe I should redecorate the house. No. Maybe we need more gym equipment. Maybe I need to lose some more weight. And I just kept adding all this pressure to myself, thinking that I was going to get better and that people were going to see what I had inside me. But I couldn't see it myself. And I found myself getting into this really deep hole. And it was probably a depression. And my mom came to visit me. And I decided to eat my feelings like normally happens with a burrito bowl with lots of queso cheese, which is not a good thing for someone who's lactose intolerant. Not saying I am or not, but you know. And my mom looked at me and she's like, "What is going on with you?" And I told her to F off. And at that moment I was like, what am I doing? What is happening to me? And I got in my car and I had a conference to run in Phoenix, Arizona. And I packed all my stuff in there. I dropped my mom at the airport. And as I'm speeding down the highway, I don't know what I was racing for, a rock smacks my car. And all of a sudden, a line just goes right up. And that was the moment of, like, slow down and start thinking. But I didn't. I kept pushing through. I drank myself into a blackout at a conference and had to be escorted out on a golf cart, not even a court. I was out of my mind. And thankfully, my boss didn't see because he was there. But it was this wake-up call that I had to get my shit together. That if I wanted to be happy, I had to be able to look at myself in the mirror and know that I was being honest to myself. And my dad had told me, like, hey, why don't you talk to my career coach, Cliff Montgomery? I'm like, a career coach? What are they going to tell me? I know everything there is to know about careers. And so I finally said, I need help. Like, because obviously my job is making me miserable. Not to mention the unhappy marriage I was in, the mounting responsibilities of keeping a gym open, and the travel that was killing me, or the job that didn't appreciate me, or the fact that I really didn't like myself that much. So I decided to give Cliff Montgomery a call. Now, to this day, Cliff Montgomery and I have never met. And it gets better. He lives 2 blocks from my dad in New Hope, Pennsylvania. Still to this day, I've never met him. But Cliff Montgomery changed my life because he asked me, what do you want? What makes you happy? And I couldn't tell him. I kept talking about jobs and processes and procedures and the things that are supposed to make us happy, all those check boxes that are supposed to make us happy. Well, I already checked them. I was married. I had a super cute dog, Rico Suave. You know him well? Yep. I had the house of everyone's dream. And I had this business that I was able to work home from, and I was able to travel the world, and I was still not happy because I wasn't a part of that process. And so I started talking about the job that I wanted to have. And he said to me, Lauren, you're meant to be a coach. And I'm like, a life coach? Now that's some bullshit. Like, the woo-woo was out the window. Like, I had met life coaches before, and I was like, how are you going to tell me how to be happy? Like, you're just going to tell me how to be happy, and that's just how it's going to be? Okay, cool. So I decided to look into it. And what did you know? I was like, I can do this. This is pretty cool. So I went, and I enrolled myself into a coaching school. And I tell my husband, I'm like, I'm ready to make some changes, guys. Yeah, like, look at me go. I have owned my mission. And I made an admission payment. And he said, do what you want. And I realized he didn't want change. He had the life he wanted, and the wife he wanted. And I was not that person. And I knew I was not that person. I had faked myself into this idea of who I was supposed to be. And so I enrolled myself into coaching school, went through 8 months of training, and in the process, I sold my house, I gave away my business, and I packed up whatever I could fit in my car, including my dog, and I drove cross-country to D.C. And that was almost 3 years ago. But all of it was possible because of the methodical process of asking why I wanted it, what I wanted, how I wanted it, and making it based on my values, not on what Cosmo's article of the week tells you, how to get your passion back, get your mission back. I actually asked it, and I dug deep, and I gave myself the patience and the space to think about what I wanted. And so that's what I did. And I also said, well, I don't really like my job that much. They don't really appreciate me. So I came back and I gave it 6 months. And 2 years ago, I started my coaching business full time. Because if I'm here to light a fire under you and to go bold, I can't be sidestepping and tiptoeing around. So that's where the SpitFire Coach came from. And ultimately, that's where the inception of Spitting Fire came from. So I'm going to share with you, I feel like I just shared my whole life story with you. I'm going to go even deeper with you about how I came to be what I used to be and how I uncovered it. Because here's the thing, I think all of you are Spitfires. Number one, you're sitting in these chairs, so you can't not step out of here unaffected. But all of us have this inner power within us. But we got a lot of crap on top of it that tells us what we should do, who we should be, what we need to do for other people before we take care of ourselves. So today, I'm going to walk you through what I think is the model to tap into your SpitFire power. But before we do that, I'm going to sit down because my feet hurt. No, I'm just kidding. They're super cute shoes. No, this is all staged. This is staged so that I can take a break, and I'm going to, if I had reading glasses, I would put them on. But I'm going to share my story of when I first uncovered the term SpitFire. So if you don't know me, my name is LeMunyan, the Jersey Fresh Rapper with no vowels, facilitator of awesomeness, and the SpitFire Coach. Yes, all those titles are self-designated, but when you own your own company, you can call yourself whatever you want. So how did I get to be a rapping, awesomeness facilitating, fire-spitting strategic business and life coach? Here's my story. It has a little bit to do with crocheting, passion, and entrepreneurship. The first time I heard the term SpitFire, I was 6 or 7 years old. With young divorced parents, my grandparents became the economically friendly option for childcare during holidays, summers, and long weekends in upstate New York. As the oldest sister of 8, my grandma was the matriarch of her family. Most of her siblings lived within 20 minutes of one another, and the house was always buzzing with visitors, or we frequently popped over for visits. Whether it was a wedding, christening, or funeral, a family event always seemed to be going on when we visited. Now don't worry, I'm getting to the SpitFire part. At 6 years old, I decided that I wanted to learn how to crochet, after realizing that the cookies and lemonade options were much better at my grandma's Tuesday night crochet club. So I asked my grandma to teach me how to crochet an Afghan, and her eyes glowed with pride. When I grew frustrated by the uneven stitches, she reminded me to be patient, and I'm still working on that. I don't know about you. I would spend hours creating chains, which are the base stitches of crochet, and then I'd present them to her for approval before learning the next stitch. She would quickly pinpoint the inconsistencies and unravel all my hard work. My heart sank, but I knew I had to try again to make it to the next level and start creating presentable items. After a few weeks, I was on crochet cruise control. One summer afternoon, shortly thereafter, my great-uncle Eddie and Aunt Alice were hosting one of our many summertime family get-togethers in New Windsor, New York. I proudly hauled my yarn and hooks into their house and tucked my latest project next to the couch to keep them away from the chaos of familiar foot traffic. A slew of second and third cousins ran through the house before they were shooed outside. I joined them for a round of tag, but after the boys started transitioning into roughhousing, I strategized my return to the home base, the sofa. That was my safety zone. When I picked up my favorite red eye hook, I felt a surge of energy run through me. Without looking down, my hand started cranking with my signature right index finger sticking out. I was entrenched in every centimeter of progress that emerged from the bag of yarn. I was in a creative trance. Then I heard it. She's a little Spitfire. Look at her go. I paused and wondered what that meant, but didn't ask for fear of breaking my rhythm. I look back on that day as my SpitFire spark. But my grandma was the true catalyst. She didn't let me slide on subpar stitches and didn't let me leave the dinner table before my plate was clear, and I'm still a member of the Clean Plate Club. She was rock solid and tough, but also soft and generous. And my grandmother, this is dedicated to her. She goes by Marion or Dolly. But this is me getting back to who I was as that little Spitfire on the couch, speeding with crochet, but I can't do it now because I have tendinitis every time I pick up a hook. But that was the moment when I realized that other people saw in me what I had inside of me. And unfortunately, I translated that into production. Do more, be more, get more shit done. But I realized that what people saw in me was my passion and my dedication and my commitment to things. And so that's what I'm getting back to as a Spitfire coach. Now, I started writing this book, and I've always been attracted to the term Spitfire. But I don't know if any of you have ever looked up the definition. Anybody done it? Okay. Don't worry, I did all the hard research for you guys. So Google, good old Google. It's really hard to Google things. Google said that a Spitfire is a person with a fierce temper. No. So then I went to dictionary.com. Spitfire is a person, especially a girl or woman, who has a fiery temper and easily provoked to outbursts. Nope. So then I go to urbandictionary.com, and I'm like, oh, Urban Dictionary, they get me. They get me. Someone that's wild and free and can say what he or she wants to say without a care in the world. Awesome. Oh, wait. No, we're not done yet. Someone whose angry words sting like fire. That's not so great. Also considered strong emotionally and spiritually. All right, we'll go with that. Someone who you don't want to be on the bad side of. And someone whose angry words are like fiery ice. Now, who in this room has ever been called a Spitfire? That's it. Deborah, you better raise your damn hand. Calling you out. You better. Now, how many of you... yeah, timid my ass. Now, anybody who's been called a Spitfire, how many of you have taken it as an insult? No. So my purpose, in addition to many other purposes in this book, is to redefine what a Spitfire is. Because what's there is not what I was called when I was 6 years old, and it's not what you were called whenever you've been told this, and it's not how I define it. So when I call y'all Spitfires, it's not that. And I made a new definition for you. Would you like to hear it? Yes. Fantastic. Spitfire, someone who is emotionally and spiritually strong and can say and do whatever he or she wants. Thanks, Urban Dictionary. And someone who is full of power and passion and exudes and inspires confidence. Do we like that one better? All right, yes. Yeah. Great answer. Great answer. So my research didn't end there. Yes, I went even more high-tech because I was like, I want to know more about fire. And I used to watch Mr. Wizard a lot. Did anybody else watch Mr. Wizard? Yeah. There's a great video about fire on Mr. Wizard, and I have a link to it in my book. But what I did is I researched what are the key elements that you need in order to create and maintain a fire, because if you're a Spitfire, that's part of it. So let me turn this on. Hey. This is the fire tetrahedron. Hey. Any Eagle Scouts here? No? Okay, good. So you're not going to make me look dumb? Cool. So within the fire tetrahedron, there are essentially 4 components. But the main theme around this is that the 3 fuel, oxygen, and heat create the chemical chain reaction. Okay? So fuel, that's like our logs. It's like what's there, like the tinder and all that stuff. Oxygen, you know what that is. If you don't, then you need to just leave right now. Cool. We got bigger problems than your passion. And heat. So with fire, if it's too cold, the fire actually will not ignite. And if it's too hot, it gets out of control. So I looked at these and I thought, how can I make this applicable to people and their own Spitfire? So guess what I did? I created a new model. Yay! Yay! Yay for Canva! So instead of fuel, we got your passion. Instead of oxygen, we have your self-care. Instead of heat, we got your motivation, which create your SpitFire Power. Now, y'all can go get your passion back right now because you got a model. No, that's not how it works. So the key thing with this, in the same way that the fire works, is that if any point one of these three elements are out of whack or non-existent, guess what doesn't happen? The fire or the power? No power. So what I've done is I've looked at all of these three elements, and the reason I did this is because all of my clients shared these three elements in common. And I kept pinpointing, like, something's off. Why isn't this happening? And so I would dig into one of these three pieces. Okay, if this one feels good, how do we move on to this one? How is this interconnected? So I looked at the bigger pieces here. So how do you define your passion? So the key thing with your passion is to tap into, like, what is it that really excites you? If you were woken up in the middle of the night and you had to go do one thing, what would it be? And so a lot of my clients will be like, I don't know what I'm passionate about. And this happens a lot when there's career transition happening, like, what am I passionate about? I don't know. So there's some exercises that I have in the book of, like, get back to that, like, silly little kid that's in a mud pit doing whatever the hell they want. Get back to fun. Because when we lose it, when we're covered under the stress of the commute and the stress of our boss breathing down our neck and the person that doesn't listen to us, we lose our passion. But the passion doesn't go away. That's something that's ingrained in all of us. And there may be some cultural barriers of, like, what we're supposed to do versus what we're allowed to do. But in all of us, we have the ability to tap into this. But the key piece that Jim brought up is the motivation, which is over here. And so originally, and actually Corral can attest to this, I was downstairs in our awesome building typing away. I'm like, I'm cranking this out. I'm going to get this book out. But let me run this by you. Something isn't working. So I had energy instead of motivation. Now, if I had energy, would that make sense in this model to you? It'd be a little bit more of a stretch. I think motivation is probably a little bit easier to understand. So energy is a component of motivation. And the key thing with energy is, are you getting energy from within or from outside? Are you looking for validation and feedback, or are you on your path of purpose? So this is where the deep dive comes into, and this is where I work with a lot of clients on detaching themselves from the outcome. How many times do you step into a situation having your entire life planned out based on one decision from someone else across the table? And how many times does it actually happen the way you plan? Almost never. So this is where getting in touch with our intentions instead of our goals will actually get you in the arena, and it doesn't matter if you're in the nosebleeds or if you're behind home plate. Because if you're looking for people to tell you, great job, that was awesome, way to go, that becomes a chase. And that actually ties into your self-care. Because what happens when you chase? Hell to the yeah. You are huffing and puffing, searching, whether you're actually exuding exhaustion or whether you're hiding it. We all know it's there. But that's where a lot of the stress comes from. That's where burnout lives, in the chase. It loves the chase. It's like, oh, keep going. You need that feedback. But when we have our passion and our motivation that comes from our purpose, then our self-care becomes at the forefront. And usually this is the first place where this dips off. Now, why is that? Who's really good at getting 8 hours of sleep a night? Okay, you guys get gold stars. Now, when you're super stressed out, how easy is it to get 8 hours of sleep? So hard. Your mind is racing. You're exhausted. You're like, what do I need to think about for the next 17 days? I've got this all figured out. You're not eating right. You're probably having the queso. I love queso. You might be drinking a little more than you want to. You might be smoking. You might be in the club. But self-care is usually the first to drop off, because if we are always searching for other people to validate us and tell us we're okay, guess who we're not checking in with? Ourselves. So when we start with ourselves and our self-care, then everything else starts to get uncovered here. Key thing is for you to understand where your energy sits and where your boundaries are. So boundaries are a big point in all of this. So once you discover this SpitFire Power, you got to know how to maintain it. Because how many times have you read a self-help book, watched a documentary, and you're like, I'm fired up, I got boundaries. Yeah, let's do this. And then like negative Nancy rolls in 2 weeks later, and you're like, and you're back to where you started from. You're like, I don't know why it didn't work. Because you have to create those strategies for the people that are not where you are. And when you can recognize that you're in an anabolic flow state of creativity and you're like, I'm good, I just went to this awesome talk, I got this great book, you've got to put it into practice. And you've got to understand that not everybody is for you, and you can just have some detached engagement, you can reframe it, and you keep it moving. Not everybody is for you, and that is the beautiful thing about being a Spitfire. A lot of the times when we start to have this growth in ourselves, the people that are closest to us, like our family, are like, I don't know you like this. I'm not okay with this. You need to stop it. Because they're not okay with change. And it's not that they want to make you unhappy, they just don't get it. And that's okay. You kind of got to let them have that space to flow it out. But maintenance in all of this is super duper important. And so I'm going to ask for a guinea pig. Mr. Silverman, would you care to join me in the hot seat? All right.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay.
This is great stuff, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. You're not getting out of this. All right. So this is an exercise in the book, but I wanted you guys to see this in action so you could see how it goes. So this is the energy booster or sucker exercise. We're going to go through your day. You're going to tell me all about your day. Okay. And we're going to see where you have the energy boosts and the drops. Okay, so we can see from Josh, I'm just going to do a little graph here. Isn't this great? Awesome. It's great. It's very high tech.
Yeah.
So it's very high tech here. So we can see that Josh started off his day feeling pretty good, and he just kind of sustained the good positive growth, had some social interactions, topped it off with mom, and then that damn Honda Civic test drive just dropped him down. And then he went back up when he came here. So the key thing here that I'm looking at is what happened here, Josh?
Right. Yeah. What happened there was, is that a rhetorical question?
You can answer.
Okay, got it. So what happened there was we were running late. I knew we had to be here. And, there wasn't a lot of time. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I had to be really, not aggressive, but assertive with the guy and being like, look, I'm not here for a long time.
Oh, okay? and you had the salesman.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I cannot stay past 4:30.
Okay.
Right? And so it shifted, like, even before, I was stressed about being late.
Ah, okay.
So that's really what was.
Got it. So a lot of the times when we have energy boosts or drops, they're very much linked into our values. So what Josh just told us is that he has a lot of value around time and efficiency and valuing other people's time. But he also values the quality time that he spends with other people. So you enjoy work.
Yes.
You own your own company.
Absolutely.
You enjoy your wife.
Yes.
I enjoy her too. She's great.
She is.
You love your mom.
I do. She's awesome.
And you love being here supporting me.
I love being here. This is a great location and a great event.
Yes. Thank you.
You're doing a hell of a job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. You're free.
Oh, thank you.
You're free to go. So that's one of the exercises that you can do at home to think about your day objectively. Now, we got a snapshot of Josh's day today, but you can do that on your everyday. Like, what does an average day look like? Like, if you know that commuting just zonks you out and you enter the office like, I hate everyone, get out of my space, then that would be an opportunity to have new strategies. Maybe it's getting a podcast. Maybe it's having a commuting buddy. Maybe it's changing your commute. Maybe it's working from home. If you know that those are the things and the stressors that bring you down, how do we create the strategies to help to maintain your energy? So maybe it's not going to be like, I'm feeling so great all the time, but like, how do we reduce the drops or the people? So I did this exercise actually with Justin. He did his mock corporate life that he used to have 12 years ago. And he was talking about having an office manager that just ruined his day. And I was like, okay, so that's the strategy there of how do you reduce the time spent or the impact in what you're absorbing. Are you looking for the feedback that you're not going to get? Or are you needing to change the way that you're communicating with them so that they're not able to expose you to the criticism that you don't want to have? Make sense? But this has been really a dream for me. I was chatting with somebody right before this started that this was my excuse to not be a public speaker. I kept thinking I need to have a book in order to speak, which is total nonsense. So you know what? I'm speaking and you got a book, so you got a twofer. But I'm just really honored that you guys are here for my first ever book launch. And if you guys want me to speak in any of your organizations, I am free, not free. I'm available, not free. Reframe that one up. But if you guys have any questions, let's open the floor. Or if you guys just want to get to the book signing and drinking, I'm cool with that too. All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.